Hi guys, today I want to show you guys around our new house. I know I did this a couple days ago, but we did not have any light bulbs in here, so it was very dark, very hard to see. You guys couldn't see a good portion of the house, and this time I decided to put light bulbs in the lights, making it way easier to see on this very dreary, rainy day. So I actually started working on getting a lot of the kitchen area cleaned up. This is at the front door. There's a nice little pantry closet over in here. I do have it open just because there is an outlet in there, and that is what the space heater is plugged into. I don't have it on currently because it's very it's just an annoying hum, and you guys would not be able to hear me over it. So when you first walk into the house, you end up with walking into a dining area, which there is massive amounts of carpet there. And then there's also first thing that you see, I'll come back over here. First thing that you see when you walk in is a big cupboard sort of a thing with a nice pass through. It is about 5.5 foot to the top part right there because it's kind of level with my head when I walk over there. So it's actually a really nice height, even though on camera the angles kind of look a little wonky. But it's nice because then you can easily walk in and just talk to whoever's in the kitchen, pass stuff through, that sort of a thing. And then there's also this really big table that's set right here. And it is a very large kitchen, so it comes all the way over into here. That window there that's behind the fridge, we got the fridge moved here yesterday. That window we're going to turn into a door, so we have a nice back door. And then we actually decided that we're going to keep the kitchen layout the exact same as it is. But today I'm going to work on ripping out the entire counter and cupboard area over in there. So it is an unusual size that's over in here because it was custom built. The previous owner, he took a lot of time and a lot of energy to do a lot of things very similarly to how I do things. We've uncovered a lot of rough sawn lumber that he's taken the time to sand down, plane down, make his own trim boards and make the ceiling boards and all this sorts of stuff. And I'm it is as if it is so much of a manifestation of my heart's desires here. It just keeps blowing my mind because it's as if I created all of this, and including the amount of work that needs done and stuff like that. And it keeps blowing my mind how everything is. But anyways, so yeah, dishwasher does not work. It's not hooked up. Also, it's kind of old, gross. So we're just going to rip that out, replace it. In the future, I am going to rip all of this cupboard out, get a new sink, get a new countertop, rebuild all of this. I'm just going to build it myself with 2x4s because it's 7 foot 1 inch or something like that. To go from here to here, and then we can just plug in cupboards as needed, just do some shelves or something simple. I don't want to do anything super complicated right now, just because right now we have a very small budget to work with, but once we sell our house, then we're going to be able to do things with higher end finishes, things more of what we really want for our forever home. So it's kind of one of those things of, I have to do a lot of temporary fixes now, put a lot of band-aids on things, just so then that way we can fix them and redo them properly here in a month or two. Or maybe 3. I don't know time frame. But so I'm gonna rip this out here too, just because it's really yucky, and then pretty much just rebuild it. I might just clean it up. I'm not really sure. It just depends on how sound it is. Everything seems as though the previous owner overbuilt it, over-engineered it, which is also in true Lindsay fashion to do so. So it's kind of funny. The only room I have not gotten trim boards removed at, the baseboards, is actually in the kitchen here. So these are not typical double wide baseboards. They are custom made 1 inch thick boards that have been routed. I'm not sure the terminology when you take a router and you plane off or cut in and make the fancy design. A nice design has been made on the boards. And then they've been sanded and stained and polyurethane and all that stuff. And they look really nice. We actually really enjoy the way that they look. So I was very careful when I removed all of them from all the other rooms of the house to not destroy any of them. We only ended up having one that we had to throw in the fire yesterday to burn, and that was because it got cracked, and there was also some Modo-y mold stuff on it from a window leaking, and it was really yucky. But so that was the only one that was not salvageable. I don't know once I start pulling off in the kitchen here, how much is going to be usable or not. For those of you that are wondering the size of this kitchen and dining space, I would guesstimate that it is about 24 by 24. It is very, very large, which is completely what Tracy and I wanted. We want to be able to have a lot of space, a lot of room for tables and chairs, to be able to host holidays at our house and family functions and just events for the community, and just be able to have people over and socialize. As it is now, if you got more than like one extra person, so like 3 people in our current house, it's very scrunched and crowded feeling. And here, it's like, well, you could have 30 people in here, and you'd be like, it's a little uncomfortable if we're all standing in the kitchen and stuff. But yeah, so today's project, I'm gonna come into here. My arms are really sore today. Yesterday, even though it was Christmas time, we were out here, me and Ken were out here working on putting in a bunch of T-posts because it was actually like 45 degrees and the ground was not frozen. That's one of the things that's really hard right now at this time of year, is basically we're running against the clock of when it's going to be frozen and when it's not. So I can put fencing up if the ground is frozen, that's not a problem, but putting in the T-post, you really can't drive them down in the ground if the ground is not, it's soft, like it just doesn't work. So this is the bedroom that we are actually, we determined that we are going to basically cut it in half. So you guys can see the line here. I have to demo that. Demoing this wall here today, and then I'm also demoing this half of the wall here. So we're gonna have a pantry that is like a walk-in pantry that is, I believe it's 6.5 feet wide by, I guess, 12 feet deep. So it's gonna be a nice size walk-in pantry. It should be able to store pretty much all of our like homegrown canned goods. And eventually I'll have to make like custom shelves, floor to ceiling custom shelves in here, just so that way it'll maximize the height and stuff. As it is now, every basement that we've ever had has been only like a 6 foot tall basement, so you can only have like 5.5 foot tall shelves in there, and just be kind of a silly waste of 8 foot of vertical growing or vertical storage space. So that's the plan for in this room here, and we're gonna move the door so it's not, the doorway's not gonna be here in the hallway anymore. It's actually going to be kind of like beside the fridge, basically where that broom is, somewhere in there is where we're gonna put a door. So in that way it'd be really easy, convenient if you're cooking and stuff to basically just go from the stove and the sink, walk straight across, and then boom, you can go right into the pantry, or you can go right outside. So it'll be great for when we're gardening and doing things like that, harvesting, preserving, to be able to have it that you can come inside, and if you have like winter squashes or things of that nature, you can just put them right in the pantry and different stuff like that. It's just gonna be, it's gonna be amazing. So then in this bedroom here, I got all of the carpet removed, fancy pants composting toilet from the camper days. Thought we would never have to use that again. But it is what it is. It's better than just hovering above the ground or sitting on a bucket. So it's just basically a 5-gallon bucket. I'll just pan over. 5-gallon bucket, and then I built a frame around it, and then I had also put a soft, cushiony toilet seat on it. So that thing, when we had moved into our current house, we had actually talked about burning it because we're like, oh, I hope to God we never have to use that dang thing again. I never burn it. It's a good thing I didn't, because right now it's being used. But so I did get some lights in here. It is still very, the camera's having a hard time, there we go, hard time adjusting to seeing. So when we took off all of the paneling, I forgot to tell you guys that. It was another thing that's kind of like one of those things of, wow, it's like Lindsay redid this house back in the early 90s, is the interior walls have been insulated for soundproofing. So that is something that I had always said, that whenever we got to our forever home, I wanted to rip off all the walls, like all the interior coverings, and insulate them, so then that way the noise of the animals does not carry from room to room to room. Or if somebody's sick and needs to lay down, take a nap or whatever, everybody else can still be functioning in the rest of the house. It's not as intrusive, not as disturbing, things of that nature. I'm an extremely light sleeper, so for me it's like, this is important. But it's kind of funny because when we ripped off the paneling here, this is an interior wall for that bedroom that we were just in that has the composting toilet set in right now. There's insulation on that interior wall. This is an interior wall here, there's insulation. There's not insulation in this bay here because that's where a heat vent was at. I've not seen them ran like this before, but the vent, he had the vent coming from up here, and then down here there was just a grate on both sides of the paneling, so that way the air could, I guess, come down and out. Maybe it was for cold air return, I'm not really sure. There's multiples of them in the house, so I'm not really sure what they were for. But yeah, this wall here, insulated. That's the other side of the bathroom wall, which I have lights in the bathroom now, so you guys can see how ugly it is. But so in the master here, I want to show you guys, I did get all of the carpet ripped up. That is the last little remnant of carpet there. I left that for the contractor to be able to cut out and remove, because honestly, when I started yanking and moving on the trim board over here, down here, I was like, oh shoot, I think this whole entire wall is going to need rebuilt, because yeah, it was pretty much just like wah, 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 on the drywall, and I'm like, I'll leave that for him. So yeah, the floor actually is not in as bad a shape as I thought it would be. We don't have water in here yet, so I'm not going to pick up the carpet so that way you guys can see it. But it is just sort of kind of like how this is down in here, like just sort of a little bit of gray, a little bit of blackiness. It does not, the air quality in here is not poor. I actually have a air purifier on in the kitchen, right next to the big heap of carpet, because that's where it smelled the worst once we got that out, obviously. And it's been like saying that the air reading in here is good. So no issues of mold. Tracy has severe asthma, and she was here on Wednesday in the house, all that stuff, before we even had the air purifier in here, and she had no issues with breathing or any problems like that. And like, she has a hard time going into the city because there's so much smog and pollution. She's just like always taking her inhaler everywhere and all that stuff. So for her to be able to be in the house and not have an issue, it's basically like one of those like what is that called? A Geiger counter thingy where like it just checks for radiation. She's like, she could just walk into a room and tell you if there's like mold issues, because she's like, I can't breathe. But that didn't happen here, so we're good. So in here, we got all the carpet out. We actually got all the carpet out of every room except for the kitchen. So the house is like 1,700 square feet. So I would guess that we got probably about like close to 1,200 square feet of carpet and pads ripped up the first day here. So I had worked on that. My friend had worked on starting to remove paneling. So we were just able to really divide and conquer and just super duper kick ass on getting everything out. So now for the bathroom. God, this is not a pretty sight. So over here we have a sink. I imagine that we're just going to replace this. It is like a marbly type top. It's really grody. Like, I know we could clean it, but it's one of those things where it's like it's still going to feel dirty after cleaning it and cleaning it and cleaning it. So, you know, sometimes you just can't clean everything. But so here is like the tiniest little corner shower stall. Ew, that's really gross. I have not opened this yet. That is tiny. Very, very, very tiny. I don't know if I could even fit in there. Could you imagine trying to shave your legs in this little teeny tiny shower? Like, God, that's bad. That is so bad. There's like no, like, I just hit my elbows trying to move my arms. You couldn't even like move your arm to eat or anything. Not that you're gonna eat in the shower, but shaving armpits, that's the same motion. I would not, as a small framed woman, would not be able to shave my armpits in there. Like, that's gonna go. Guess I don't have to clean it since it's just gonna get ripped out. And then over in here, there is a blue bathtub with jets in it and trim boards from the bedroom. And then back here is a yucky toilet. So all of this stuff we're actually going to, we had initially talked about just cleaning it up in here to make it so then that way we could save a little bit of money from now and just sort of make it work. But to be honest with you guys, there's some stuff that I'm not okay with going back to living in a deplorable condition with. It's bad enough that I'm renovating another house without having running water or heat in it. I don't really want to also have to make other sacrifices. These are some things that we're just like, this is important to do this, and this before we move in. And those are some of the things. So in here, now we are outside of the double wide. This is the utility room. It is pretty much just a big old cluster suck in here. It's very complicated, very confusing. The electrical panel, nothing has been wired, or nothing has been labeled. All the wires, nothing is labeled, even when you put the cover back on. So it's been a game of trying to guess and figure out what everything is, where everything goes, how everything is, all of that stuff. We cannot turn on the furnace yet because somebody cut the water lines. Not the water lines that go underneath the house or underground or however that works. It is the water lines that go to the furnace. I know literally nothing about modern heat. All of my research was like when we bought our last house, it was all basically just stuff about learning about wood stoves and mini splits and things of that nature, because that was kind of just how we decided to go about things. So for me, this is so far out of my element. So there's a number on the furnace here that on Monday we are going to call. It's a furnace repair place or whatever. So I'm assuming that's who probably installed this unit. So we're going to call them, have somebody that's a professional come out and look at it. Ooh, excuse me. I had a pop right before I started filming. I'm kind of belchy. But so yeah, big furnace over in here. It's the geothermal thing, and then there is the water line things that go up and then down and then out. And then over in here is where the washer hookups are. When we first came here, the first day here, we were trying to figure out where in the world they had like the laundry area, because we're like, we can't find it anywhere in the house and stuff. We found it. It's out here. So Liz, if you were wondering, right over here, that's where it was at. And then the well is also in here. So it's kind of weird because it's like everything is all condensed into this one room, which is nice, but it's also kind of just interesting. It's very efficient, I think. But so the well is actually right down there. So it's right there, if you guys can see it there. There's not a cap on it. There's a submersible pump in there. So I'm crossing my fingers that it's good, because when we bought our last house, we had to replace the well pump, but it was a very shallow pump, so it wasn't a big deal. It was easy for us to just do because it was inside of the house. It was actually sits right on top of the holding tank here in our old house. So, but yeah, serious amounts of plumbing actually need to be done before we can even contemplate moving in here, because, well, stuff's broke. So this filter here, the bottom of it's broke out. These filters here, they don't work. So basically our Menards list just keeps growing and growing, which obviously we knew that would happen. But so it is really nice to know that since the place is a 94, and yesterday we we burnt the pile of paneling that we had outside because we knew it was going to rain all day today. So we got that lit, and one of the pieces of paneling, I had seen it stamped on the back side of it that it was manufactured in 1996. So it's kind of interesting because this double wide is from 94. So that means that in 96 or sometime shortly thereafter, the previous owner decided he didn't like how it was or whatever, and decided that he was just gonna redo the whole thing. So yeah, it's kind of neat because the layout in here is not the original layout. That's why it's kind of so funky and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So yeah, I'll show you guys from here because it's gonna be easier for you guys to see. So where that stud is right there, basically from there over is getting ripped out of that wall there to become the pantry, and then from there in is going to still be the pantry. So then this walkway here, instead of it being like, I don't know, it's maybe 30 inches wide, it's going to become 6 feet wide. So it's going to make it really nice, have a really nice big open flow to get to the kitchen. It's going to make it so it feels like the living space, the living room area is not cut off from the kitchen, because as it is now, it feels almost like we have two separate houses that they just don't flow together, because you figure you got the master's in there, the bathroom's over there, and then you got pointed the wrong way, bathroom's here, master's back there, and then you got living room, wait, it's so weird, like, because the camera's reversed. This is going to be where the pantry is going to be at, so it's going to be a big hallway, pantry right behind me, and then second bedroom. So that bedroom there, we are going to use that as our bedroom for the beginning of this project to get us so that we were moved here, because honestly, the master is probably going to be an extremely expensive project to do because there's a lot of structural stuff that needs done. So that's not that important. I mean, obviously it is, but like, it isn't. So we're planning on just sort of shutting that bedroom door, barricading it so that way the cold doesn't come through, and just sort of letting it take as long as it takes. So that's kind of why we're like, all right, let's do the other bathroom first, because it might take a couple months before we have the nice master, before we have something that's actually completed and comfortable. So we know from extensive experience that it is extremely difficult to renovate a kitchen if you're living in a house. It is even more difficult to renovate the only bathroom in a house while you're living in said house. It makes very grumpy, stinky people to do it that way. When we lived in town, the first kitchen that we ever was the first time we ever renovated a kitchen, and we didn't have a kitchen sink for like 4 days. And let me tell you, that is awful doing dishes in the bathtub. I don't know from experience, Tracy did them, but like, I was so stressed out and so scared back then to cut the countertop because I was like so afraid that I was going to chip it and I was going to break it and I was going to ruin it, that I had such bad anxiety that it took me days to work up the courage to finally just start cutting it. And basically she told me, listen, you're not going to have any fun with me until you get this done. Get it done. And I was like, gotcha, boss. I'll conquer my fears real quick and stuff. Happy wife, happy life. But so yeah, I think that's about it. It's getting close to 1 o'clock, so I have a couple hours still that I can work here, and I'd like to get the heater turned back on. It's only like 30 degrees out right now, so like my ears are cold because I have my hood down. Yeah, so I'm gonna cut this off here so then that way I can get busy. So then next time I film, there is not gonna be a kitchen here. It's gonna be gone. I don't have the materials to start building today, but that's okay because I think it's gonna take up my whole day pretty much to just work on removing the drywall from here over and around and then cleaning it all up and then removing that. I think that's gonna be it for me today. I did do a bunch of cleaning and tidying up in here when I first got here because we had all of the trim boards, like all the baseboards and stuff. We just stacked them up on top of this table because I'm like, I don't know where to set anything. Like we need room to walk. We need room for all the carpet and stuff. Like if you ever wondered what 1,200 square feet of carpet and pads looks like, it's a whole dining room full. So anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.